Okay, last time we discussed some of the principles that emerge when we try to study how memory works, that is, what the causes are of remembering and forgetting. And the first of the big principles that we discussed was what we call the elaboration principle, which basically says that you remember something better, you remember something well, to the extent that you connect that thing up with information that you already have, with knowledge that you already know. And that is a process that's very different from what we call rote rehearsal, where you're simply recycling, rehearsing an item to maintain it in some kind of active state. So in fact, already we've seen two ways in which we can process information during the encoding period, ways that have very different effects on subsequent memory. The first of these is rote rehearsal, in which we're simply recirculating items, repeating them over, back and forth, over and over again. And rote rehearsal is good for maintaining knowledge in a kind of memory that we call primary or short-term or working memory, but it's not particularly good for encoding items into what we call long-term or secondary memory, which is the memory that we're really interested in because it's the memory that lasts longer than about 30 seconds. The key to encoding an item in long-term memory is elaboration, connecting up new pieces of knowledge with things that we already know. And we talk about elaboration first because it is by far the most important of all these principles of memory processing, but it turns out not to be the only one, not the only one by far. So, for example, imagine that you're a subject in an experiment and you're asked to study a list like this: foot, lion, blouse, orange, finger, coat, elephant, amber, mouth, rat, tie, and purple. And then the experimenter says, just write down the words you've studied, write them down in any order you want. Why don't you just do it in your notes, just for the exercise?